Okay, so let me lower the in-game volume. Okay. Okay, so this is why I stopped playing a year and a half ago. And also why I was even more confused when I started again very recently. Because you gotta do the dungeons in order. This is the light world, right? Actually, no, I don't know. Is this the dark world? No, I think it's the light world. Anyway, not important. Dungeon 6 is next. I did 1 through 5, and then the map is telling me then there's Dungeon 7. I gotta collect the 7 crystals, and then some shit happens. Well, I couldn't get into Dungeon 6. You see how it's like walled in? So I spent hours before I quit, like a year and a half ago. I spent hours trying to figure out how the fuck to get in there. Went all the way around it. Not tried to find an entrance. No. Then I got the idea, like, oh, well, maybe I gotta go on this plateau stuff here on the outside of the map, and then drop down into it. Spent hours doing that. No. Okay, well, maybe I gotta do Dungeon 7 first. Went there. No. Spent hours trying to figure out how to get into there. So then, eventually, I gave up. I quit. I lost interest. Year and a half later, whatever it's been, now I'm getting another shot. This is like last week up until last night. Did the same thing all over again. To try, also in part to try to refresh my memory. Try to get into Dungeon 7? No. Try to go to Dungeon 6? No, can't do it. Try to figure out how to get on the plateau? No. Then I started like going around and being like blowing the flute at landmarks, talking to people. I went all over the fucking map trying to figure this shit out. I went to the houses you see on the map there in like the center left part of it. I went all over the place. I went to dungeons, I went to caves, I went here, I went there, I talked to NPCs, nothing. I could not figure this out for the life of me. So last night I was like, alright, I give up. Let me look this up. And of course, it was something that, if it made sense for maybe 2 seconds the first time when I was playing through a year and a half ago, and me being me, I was like, huh, okay, whatever you say, NPC, and I just kept going. So I'll show you. This is what you have to do. So we exit this area. This is the sign that says, oh yeah, this is the dark world. No entrance, no escape. Definitely no entrance. Not a conventional one, at least. Go fuck yourself. Are you... You're a mushroom with wings. Are you hypees? Nah, go fuck yourself. Okay. We go here, and we go here. And we go this away. Oh, and I went up until up. Oh, check that out. In the dark world, that's a down arrow. And then, oh yeah, and I like, yeah, let's see. This is no, I bombed this place. I like went to the light world here. Because that arrow up there seems to be indicating that I should be here. Oh, hey, a cave. Ooh, what? Is this like an alternate? No. Oh, it's just treasures. Right? This isn't telling me to bomb this, is it? Is this an arrow? I didn't think so. Oh, okay, so it's just heals. I was about to say, did I just discover like an alternate way to get there? Okay, no, this doesn't mean anything. Whatever. Anything here? No. Okay. Moving right along. Yeah, so I tried all sorts of things. As it turns out, you have to go here, and here, and... oh my god. You have to go to that little town. I guess it's not so little, but you have to go to the town. Okay, and you have to be in the little town in the light world, because in the dark world it's all messed up and there's no one here. Almost no one, I think. Maybe one or two people. And you have to go to the tavern. And there's two people here. You talk to this guy, he goes, I saw her, very nice young lady. Laughing at my name. Yeah, I tried looking for her, I don't think I found her. And there's this guy, Mr. Miyagi looking fellow. He's just sleeping. Okay. Well, what I looked up was that... Wait, why did I exit? What you have to do is select the flute, and I was blowing the flute at all sorts of random stuff, because I know that's a thing in the first game, so I figured, oh, that's probably what I have to do. I probably have to blow my flute at something random. But I couldn't figure it out. So, it's not enough that you have the flute. It's not enough that you have it selected. It's not enough to talk to him. You have to play the flute for this guy. And then he tells you what to do. And then you gotta talk to him again. So you gotta play with the flute for this random guy, and you're expected to remember that he's the father of the owner of the flute, which I don't even know if he says that at some point earlier in the game. Maybe he does, but maybe he did, and I was just like, okay, whatever. So he's the one that gives you a clue. Or a big clue. And then you gotta play the flute. Because when I looked this up yesterday, like, oh, how to get to Dungeon 6, because that's what I googled, it's like, oh, you have to play the flute, and then you'll get warp there. And I was like, huh? What warp? And I took out the flute, and I was like, yeah, I'm playing it, I ain't doing shit. And then I saw something, duck will take you to... the duck will come and take you there, and I'm like, fucking what? So you have to play the flute in front of this fucking statue and see what happens. It's cute. Bye-bye, duck. So then what happens when you play the flute, as opposed to nothing, usually, is this. It's a level skip, essentially. And that's the only way to get to Dungeon 6. And if you don't do Dungeon 6, you can't get to Dungeon 7. And if you can't get to Dungeon 7 in the Dark World, at least. Shit, I just realized there's like 2 versions of the map. Or maybe some dungeons? Some dungeons you can do in the Light World and some you could do in the Dark. Ugh, I don't know. Anyway, so this is how you get to Dungeon 6. And it's apparently the only way. Fucking infuriating. So you go there. And here's what's even more infuriating. Oh, not that. But this is necessary because you can only enter it in the Dark World. Because this is Light World. If I just go down there now, there's the Light World version of the dungeon, which I've already done. But here's what's even more infuriating. I'm fucking sitting here and I'm like, you can't give me a hint, like, the dude's dad is just sleeping. He can't, like, you can't make him just recognize that you have the flute and say something along the lines of, oh, hey, I see you got a flute there. That looks like my son's. Oh, I would love to hear it being played one more time, blah, 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 blah. Something like that. Or maybe a sign next to the statue, like, oh, this statue loves the sound of flutes, or some sort of hint. Now here's what's even more infuriating. Psst. The game apparently gives you a ginormous hint, a very obvious one, when it comes to entering the 6th dungeon itself. You see that symbol? it's clearly telling you and clearly matching the symbol of this spell you get to when you, I don't know, beat some other boss or some other dungeon or something like that. And you can only enter this dungeon if you cast this spell at this spot. Okay, that's cool, but they're also giving you a very clear sign, which I appreciate. I also would have really appreciated the sign that would have told me to play the flute in front of the duck statue. So, I'm very glad I looked it up, because it might have taken days, weeks, months, or maybe I never would have figured that out. So yeah, that's it. On with the show, I guess.